Well, hello everyone. It's a beautiful sunny day out here by the fountain at the front yard of Fondren Presbyterian Church. I hope you're all doing well. I hope you're enjoying this beautiful weather and getting out and enjoying some of the sunshine. This is the next installment in our series of videos about what it means to be the church in this strange time that we're living in. The last couple of videos we talked about what pastoral care looks like and what worship looks like. Today I want to talk a little bit about fellowship. What does it look like to have fellowship with one another when we're not with one another? Seems kind of a strange thing to do, doesn't it? To say we have fellowship apart. But that's exactly what we're being challenged to do today. You know, in the New Testament, the word that's used to describe the fellowship of the church or the gathering of the community of the church is the word koinonia. Koinonia can mean assembly or gathering of people. And the koinonia is the gathering of people around the common love and worship and devotion to Jesus Christ. That is what unites us and gathers us together. It's what makes church different than other gathering places. The other places that are very important to us, gatherings with our friends and family reunions and bridge clubs and junior league and Rotary Club and everything else. There are all kinds of places where we build community, but the koinonia community of the church is different. It's rooted in a different place, our shared love of Jesus Christ. Well, one of the things I've been doing during this separation time is I've been doing a lot of reading I've wanted to catch up on. And I've been rereading some books that were really impactful on my ministry over the years. And one of them is a book that's called Holy People, a liturgical ecclesiology. It's by Gordon Lathrop. And Lathrop is a wonderful theologian, and he's written this book about the way our worship defines who we are as a community. The way our worship defines who we are as a community. And he quotes from a document that's called the Ditchingham Report. That was a document prepared by the World Council of Churches in 1995. And this is what it says in part. That koinonia, that community, has been given us in the common life of the believing community, which is empowered with many gifts by the Holy Spirit, which eats and drinks the Holy Communion of Christ, and which shows forth a foretaste of the communion of the whole creation with God, a foretaste of all peoples reconciled to God, to each other, through the cross and the resurrection of Jesus Christ. That's what brings us together. That's our glue. The common worship and love and devotion to Christ that we share. So that raises a question for us. How can we be that community if we're not worshiping together? How can we be that community if that common peace, that center around which our community revolves, isn't there? It's a challenging question, but it's a very important one. It's also one that we don't have a choice about dealing with. The reality the last couple of weeks has shown us is that we are going to be in this situation in some form for quite a while. Even when churches are able to start gathering safely for worship again, many of our members who are in vulnerable populations will not be able to gather with us. So the community we shared at the end of February is not the community we're going to share anytime soon. That community that involved everyone in one place, worshiping God and coming together. So, how do we do it? Well, we've talked in these videos about some of the things that we can be doing. We talked in the pastoral care video about getting in touch with one another, reaching out to one another, maintaining relationships and maintaining contacts and checking in on one another and one another's care. And that's a big, big part of it. Last week we talked about worship a little bit and how our worship, even if we don't worship the same way, it can still be a powerful force for us if we carve out places in our lives for worship to happen. Our worship services are coming to us through YouTube right now. but to set aside a place at home as a sanctuary, a wholly set aside place, can add something to that worship experience. But that togetherness piece, that actually being in one another's company, is a challenge still. I've had conversations with a few members of the church in the last few days who are really struggling with this sense of disconnectedness that we have right now. I'm giving thanks to God for this camera phone that I have, and for Zoom, and for Facebook, and for all the ways we're staying connected to each other. But they're a sad substitute for a hug or a handshake or a face-to-face visit on Sunday morning. Like you, I long to see some of those familiar parts of our Sunday morning routine. One of my favorite parts of Sunday morning is watching folks as they walk in the door at the far end of the hall from the office. Walking through the courtyard with the choir before we walk into worship. Knowing that Dave is in the back, making sure everything is running smoothly. Knowing that Jeff is on the organ and the music is going to be wonderful. All of those things come together to build that community for us when we are together. And we miss them when we're not. So I think one of the things we have to do in this season is find new things to value and cherish in one another. Because the kind of relationship we've had, that face-to-face worshiping relationship, isn't something we have right now. We're going to have it again. I believe we are. I truly, truly believe we will be together again worshiping someday soon. But in the meantime, it's important that we continue to try to build the bonds of fellowship and friendship that make Fondren the special place that it is. It's important that we seek out opportunities to value and cherish one another. So in the coming weeks, as restrictions are being lifted on staying at home and social distancing and things like that, I hope you'll find chances to get some real human contact with one another. The other day, I sat out in the front yard with some neighbors, and we had our chairs all 6 feet apart and sat and had a nice visit. And yesterday, I got to meet one of my friend's new baby. First time I'd seen her in real life. She was about 8 feet away from me, and I didn't get any closer. But just being in that space with her made a big, big difference. So I hope that you'll find some time to really connect when you can. But when you do, remember that what you're experiencing is that koinonia of the church. When we gather together, even outside of this place, we're embodying that community. So that's one piece of it. Just finding opportunities to actually be together is going to be important. But there's another piece that's there as well. One of the realities of being a koinonia community, a worshiping community, is that almost all of our interaction takes place face to face, in presence with one another in the church. Unlike a lot of other kinds of friendships, social friendships or business friendships, church friendships and relationships are almost always in person. Now they're not. And a lot of the things we communicate to one another and with one another when we're in person are hard to do through conference calls and Zoom calls and emails. We lose the body language. It's hard to read a face on a screen. We even speak differently, so the inflections in our voices change from what our face-to-face conversation might be like. And the loss of that nonverbal communication, the loss of those cues that we've gotten used to in one another, can make this kind of communication feel very wanting. So a thing it's important for us to do, I think, is to be honest with one another when we're struggling with that. When we don't feel that connection, it may take some extra work on our part to get to it. But to get there, we have to be honest with one another and say, I really need to visit with you. Not about anything in particular. I just need to visit with you. I need to have that kind of time we're used to having together. I need to have some time to just say, how's your mom and them? To just visit with you and be present with you. Because I miss that. I miss that on Sunday mornings when we're getting ready for worship, or I miss that when we're robing in the choir room, or I miss that standing in the parking lot or going to lunch or whatever it might be. Finding ways to truly communicate with one another is a challenge when we're apart, since we are a community whose communication is so rooted in presence. But I believe we can do it. I believe we can find wonderful, robust ways to connect with one another and communicate with one another and deepen our relationships and our friendships with one another. But that is the challenge of fellowship for us right now. The challenge of fellowship in a time of pandemic. We can't do the thing that we're used to. So we've got to find some new ways of doing this thing that we value so much. One thing the last 8 weeks has taught me is exactly how much I value seeing and talking to each one of you. I love our Wednesday night Zoom calls. I even like Zoom session meetings because I get to see folks and hear their voices and talk to them. And I love being able to wave to folks. We have a couple of folks who walk by the building during the day and they'll always wave through the office window. But I really miss seeing you and being with you in person on Sunday mornings. And I know you miss seeing and being with one another. Our fellowship runs deep, much deeper than this crisis we are sharing right now. So when we come back together, we can be confident that the fellowship we so cherish will be here waiting on us. But for now, let's do the hard work of building it and continuing it and deepening it, even in the face of this separation. Friends, I miss you. Your church misses you. And I look forward to seeing you all soon. I appreciate everyone who's reached out and offered to help with our videoing and online worship and with things that we're doing here at the church. I really do appreciate everyone's willingness to stay so deeply and fundamentally engaged with our congregational life. And trust me, as things come up that folks can do, we'll let you know. But in the meantime, the best thing that you can do for your church and for your community is to love one another, support one another, value one another, and when you can, help one another. As we go through this process together, we will come out of it a strong and vibrant and loving community of faith, the same way we went into it. It might look a little different, but it won't be any less valuable. I wish you every possible blessing today. I hope that you have a chance to get out and enjoy some of this sunshine. I hope that you are having a peaceful week. And I hope that you know that your pastor misses you very much. And I look forward to seeing you all very, very soon.